When it's all said and done, my next guest, if you go and look at the resume of who she's had to fight and where she's had to fight, it's going to be pretty spectacular. And here's another big one. She's going to be fighting Jessica Andrade in Brazil in January. It's lucky Lauren Murphy back here on the program. Lauren, how are you?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. I'm happy to talk to you. And I mentioned it there off the top. You are fighting Andrade in Brazil. I imagine there's not a lot of flyweights putting their hand up, but that's what you're known for, fighting the best of the best. Tell me how this all came together.
It's like I fought Misha, and it was just such a clean fight. It was like I felt like I made it look really easy. Like obviously I've grown in my skill set and just in my my fighting ability in general. And it was like, this is really the next step up for me. It's like I think about that fight with Valentina. It's a hard thing for me to think about, honestly. And it's like that was such a bad night and just a terrible camp. And like when I came out of that, it was like, you know what, like I really need to step it up. Like I need to show the world that wasn't me. And so when I fought Misha, I made a point, to show the world how much I'd grown and to show them that was like that thing against Valentina was not me in there. And I felt like once I fought Misha, it was like, damn, did I even get hit in that fight? Like I don't think she got not to even one good position the whole fight or anything. And I was like, okay, so I need the next challenge, like another challenge, another step up, a big step up, something that'll challenge me and really build my confidence and give me some good experience. And it was like, Jessica Andrade is a former champion in another weight class. And after I beat her, I'll have beat two former champions, one in the weight class above, one in the weight class below. My confidence will be a lot higher. I'll have had that high level experience. I'll have taken on a fight that nobody else wanted. And this is all just a process for me to get back to the belt and become a champion myself,
And fighting in Brazil, I mean, that's, again, a lot of people aren't really, it's not an appealing thing, but is that kind of as well to just add to the resume of things that you've had to do? Because a lot of fighters don't want to fight in Brazil, the judges, the crowd, all that stuff, but you're like, hey, let's do it.
Yeah, let's go do it. Yeah, because I want the challenge. I want to be able to say, like, I fucking did that. I dominated it. I killed it. I had a good opportunity and I took full advantage. And like I said, like my mission now is to just come back stronger and just keep growing and keep showing the world that like I can be a champion and I will be a champion. But I think my first run to the title is like, I had some good fights. They were close fights. They were like split decisions, close decisions, and against people that like Jojo Calderwood, like, it's like, come on, like that was a contender shit. Come on. And, so now it's like, okay, I need to work my way back to the title and I need it to be against legit people, former champions, title contenders, people that are going to build my confidence, build my resume, and then get me back to where I want to be, which is obviously I want to be the champion. I think everybody in the division is aiming for that, but this is my path to get there.
How are you doing health-wise? This is something we talked about in the last interview. Obviously, the Misha fight, I mean, you look great in that one. I know, but with Valentina, there was those health issues. We talked about that last time. How are you doing now? How's everything like health-wise?
It's getting better. I still have days like where I'm sick, and I have to be really, really careful with my diet and with my energy expenditure. And like my immune system is not what it used to be. My digestive system is not what it used to be. And being a professional athlete, those things, they take a beating enough without further health complications on top of it. So I'm working with a woman named Lisa Reagan, who's just she's the best of the best. And that's really cool. It gives me a lot of like confidence to work with her. And as long as I'm following all the protocols that I need to be following, then I feel great. But it's like if I step out of line at all or like try to cheat on my diet or like push myself too hard, then I just have to be very, very careful about what I'm putting in my body and making sure that I'm taking care of my body, as best I can, because my immune system really did take a beating over that time period. And I still do have some lingering health issues, but hopefully they're getting further and further away, like the more time that goes by, the more my body can heal. And I don't know, maybe someday I'll be back to normal. Maybe. I honestly don't know. I didn't even know that I would be sick this long. Like, I didn't know that that was going to be a consequence of the illness that I had, but it is, and I'm dealing with it, and that's all we can do.
Yeah, and you're aware of it. You're monitoring. It's not like something that you're kind of just putting in the back of your head. It's something that you're continuing to sort of to work with, which is good. At least you're monitoring it, right? So that's great.
Yeah. Well, we absolutely have to. Like, if
right.
I didn't, I wouldn't be able to fight. You know. So
yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Good point there. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Let's talk about Andrade. Obviously, we know she's got a lot of power. You know, she finished Caitlin Chukagian. How are you looking at this fight from a style perspective, from your perspective?
You know, I think it's just important to go out there and get her fucking respect right away, and then make her start fighting my fight, you know? And she's a big power puncher, so she wants to counter. She likes to slip her head and then jump in with them big hooks. She puts everything into her shots because she knows, you know, she's got a lot of knockouts and she knows what kind of power she's carrying. And yeah, so I think it's important to not just, you know, I'm not going to sit in the pocket and trade with her. You all know how tough I am. Yes. I don't need to go out there and show you guys how tough I am. I'm going to go out there and show you how good I am.
Yeah. How much do you credit? I mean, that's actually, I think, a key thing in this fight is that you're really durable. Like, even Valentina, if you look at how late like that fight went on, like, how much confidence does that give you? Because there's other women that don't even make it out of the first round with her.
Yeah, and just knowing like how sick I actually was that night and everything that had gone wrong, and then to just be like, yeah, it still took her to the fourth fucking round to like make something happen. Like, that does give me a lot of confidence. And yeah, it does. It gives me a lot of confidence thinking about that. And then obviously the fight with Misha gave me a lot of confidence. And the team that I train with now, you know, so that fight with Valentina, it showed me three things I think I took away from that fight: that I needed more confidence, I needed more experience, which will give me more confidence. And then I definitely needed to have a better team around me, you know, 100%. And so those three things, I really think I've taken care of. I went and found a new team. I'm gaining that experience with every fight that I take, and every fight that I take and win and dominate, like, that's going to build my confidence. So that when I do face the champion again, whether it's Valentina or not, I'll have plugged those holes in my game. And training with the team that I'm training with now, I truly 100% in my heart believe I'm training with the best women's team in the world.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. Just last thing on Andrade and sort of the matchup itself. I don't think you'd ever make 115, right? I always look at stuff like this. You know, I know Andrade has fought at bantamweight before, but like, you're very strong for the division. How much do you think that will play as well? Just because I think she's had her most success at 115, but like I said, I don't think you could make that weight because you're so strong. I don't think you could get down there. How much do you factor that in as well?
Yeah, I definitely would never make 115. Wouldn't even entertain it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. We'll see, because I thought Misha would be strong. I was like, man, she's a former champion, the weight class up. If anybody's going to give me a hard time, it'll be Misha. But I didn't feel like she was stronger than me, not in any position. And so I think it'll be the same with Andrade. It's like, I think technique beats power. You know, like, if I can keep my cool, stay calm, and be very technical in those positions where she likes to explode and she likes to be strong and she likes to kind of wild out in there. If I'm more technical, I think that will beat her strength absolutely over the course of 15 minutes.
You mentioned the great team you're working with at Elevation. Who have been some of the main training partners helping you get ready for this one?
Oh gosh, we have such a crazy good women's team right now. So I get to train with like JJ Aldrich, Mallory Martin, Miranda Maverick, Claire Guthrie, Shauna Dobson's been coming in. Man, I'm forgetting people. I know I'm forgetting people. Probably.
No worries. It's a big. We'd be here all day if we named all of them. But
yeah,
you mentioned Miranda, so I've had a couple interviews with Miranda, because remember, she had the one fight that was off and then the other one, and it just seems like you two gel so well together. And she's also in your weight class, so it's kind of like iron sharpens iron. How much has that elevated your game? Because I know you guys both really benefit from training with each other.
Yeah, we do, for sure. And the cool thing about the women's team out here is that we're all UFC level, or like about to go into the UFC. You know, everybody's like Invicta, BKFC, like we're all about the same size. So we can really push each other. Oh, Raquel Pennington's been coming up, so I get to train with her. Like, I mean, these are, you know, JJ Aldrich is a fucking monster. Like, Miranda Maverick she's in the gym just whooping people's asses left and right. And so it's like we get to have really competitive rounds. We get to try stuff on each other in training. And the best part about it is that for this group of women, we all take care of each other. Like, we all have really good attitudes. Nobody's getting on their high horse about, you know, if they won a round or lost a round or did something good or pulled off the move of the day or whatever. It's just training. And I really love that about these girls because it's a really good environment to go in and grow. It's not, if we were just all trying to look out for ourselves, it's hard to grow like that. But we really do look out for each other, and we're trying to make each other win each other's fights. I know those girls want me to win this fight as badly as I want to win this fight. I want JJ Aldrich to win her next fight as badly as she does. And same thing with Miranda and Raquel. And it's a pretty special team up here right now. I'm real grateful to be part of it.
How long have you been up there? Because I know you don't, if I'm not mistaken, could be wrong with this. I know you don't actually like live in Colorado. You just do your camps there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I live in Houston, and then I'll come out as soon as I get a whiff of a fight. I'll come out for my own camp. And then I've flown out here too, just to be part of the other girls' camps sometimes, to give back and be a partner. And that's been really cool because they've really come together for me for this camp, and they're really pushing me hard, it's really nice. I know I'm going to be so well prepared. But yeah, so I just come out here for my camps, and then like right now I'm just staying in an apartment that I rented for a couple months, and it's lonely, but it really helps me focus. I feel real dialed in. I get in really good shape, and I'm just all about the fight when I'm out here. There's no like my husband kind of spoils me when I'm in Texas, and
right, of course.
It's a real great place, but sometimes it can be hard to focus. So
yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's kind of zoning in and everything. Brazil, obviously, bit of a hike to get there. Who's going to be? I know Joe will obviously making the trip with you. Who else is going to be coming down there to corner you in the fight?
Yeah, so we'll have Sean Madden. He'll be my striking coach.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, I love him. And then Carrington Banks has been my head coach. He's my MMA coach. And he was in my corner for the Misha fight. And both those guys, they work really well together, but both of them separately I've grown so much from working with them. And I really feel like this team, the four of us, me, Joe, Madden, and Banks, have just gelled together so well. Like everybody clicks, everybody gets along, everybody sees the same stuff. And so I can go to either coach and they will always give me the same story. They always give me the same game plan. They're moving in the same direction, which I love. There's no arguing in the corner. Everybody's invested. These guys, like I said, they want me to win this fight as badly as I want to win this fight. We're all invested in this. And it's a great feeling, when you're going into enemy territory, you want to have a fucking team. Like you want to have your squad, And so I will. And then my friend Aurora is going to be coming too. She comes to all my fights. She'll be staying in the hotel with us. So
cool.
Yeah.
Good mix. And shout out to Sean. I love Sean a lot. He doesn't get enough credit in the coaching community, I don't think, for the work that he's done with so many different fighters. So I'm glad you gave him a little plug here, which is awesome. So that's good. Yeah. One more thing I thought of just with camp. I know Rose, she doesn't have a fight booked or anything, but Rose has fought Andrade a couple times, right? I don't know. Has there been any talk with her? You guys are different fighters, obviously, but I just mean like maybe there's some game plan or something that Rose might have given you as far as advice or anything.
100%. Yeah. I just saw Rose last week. She was hanging out at a gym that we were sparring at, and I did pick her brain a little bit about how she felt. Raquel's fought Andrade twice, so I picked her brain too about how she felt. And it's just super helpful, that those girls, those girls gave me their input, and it was right in line with what my coaches were already telling me. And so, if I go out there, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to execute our game, and Andrade is going to fight my fight, and I think it's going to be a rough night for her.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how is this fight playing out? How do you see this one unfolding in Brazil?
I see the crowd giving me a chant when I walk out. They're going to give me the O Vamos chant, and then they're going to be real quiet when I walk back after I get my hand raised.
Love it. Love it. That's great. I wanted to ask you about a couple other fights. Actually, the main event, they just switched it up. It's a really exciting fight now between Glover Teixeira and Jamahal Hill. What do you think about that fight? Who do you think wins that? Jamahal, by the way, the favorite. I just looked at the betting odds before he hopped on here.
Oh, really? Jamal's the favorite?
Yeah, I think because he's younger and he has looked really good outside of the one fight with Paul Craig. So I was curious your thoughts on that fight as they put it together at the last minute by the sounds of it last weekend, right?
I know. That's pretty awesome that sometimes they can't get a fight to come together, and that one they put together like that. No, I'll be betting on Glover on that fight. And I actually am a big Jamahal Hill fan, but man, Glover Teixeira is my spirit animal. Yeah. That dude's 42 and he's killing it. And so it's like that. It just makes me proud to share a card with him. I've been a Glover Teixeira fan for a long, long, long time. And, he fought for the championship. He got smoked by John Jones. He worked his way back to the title. He won it. I think he might be the oldest title holder.
Oh, yeah, he has to be right now for sure. He's 43, I think. So, yeah, I don't know how old he was back then, but yeah.
That's so badass. And I know people are all hyped up about the young people. They're like, oh, young people, young people. It's like, yeah, it's cool to be young, but it is most badass to be an old fighter. That is the
Yeah.
most badass thing you could be as an old fighter, because you got to be fucking good to be an old fighter, you know?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
like, so Glover Teixeira is my guy, and I'm going to be pulling for him. And I was pumped when they put that fight together, because I was like, hell yeah, I get to share a card with him. You know?
And I should mention, and I know you meant like hypothetically, but obviously the UFC changed the rule now. You cannot bet on fights. I was actually just curious your thoughts on that with this whole James Krause thing. Do you think that's fair to the fighters, that they cannot bet on themselves or bet on fights, period, because of this whole situation that happened? I was just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I do think it's fair, because we do have a lot of inside information, and if I can't even, I'm not a big bettor. I don't gamble very much. You know, I'll put like, I used to bet on people that I didn't want to win, because that way if they lost, I wasn't
smartest
salty.
strategy ever, because then no matter what, you get a good outcome, right? You either get some money or you get the person you want. So I'm
exactly.
with you there.
So I'd always put a bet like on Jojo Calderwood or Sajara or somebody like that. But like, it didn't matter to me. It wasn't making or breaking my, my bank account. But I do think it's fair, because we do have a lot of inside information. And then look what happened. Some fuckhead went and ruined it for everybody by using that inside information, and it got out and was made public. And I've heard a shitload of rumors about all of that. Anyway, I've just heard a lot of rumors about it. And man, it sucks that it happened, but I do think it's fair.
Well, I'll say one thing as well. Like, I think this was something that was going to come regardless if that person had done it or whatever, right? Because like, obviously these big betting books are coming in, it's becoming legalized in all the states, but the UFC never really had anything in place to like say like, hey, wait a second, like to prevent something like this from happening. Like in other sports, you can't exactly, like in football or whatever, like the players can't bet on themselves, right? Like it's a big no-no. So I kind of feel like everything's kind of coming together at once in this big storm, and I'm sure over the next couple months we're going to hear things. So like I totally understand where you're coming from, because it's like there is a lot of inside information that can get out, right? And people have an advantage when it comes to betting. So
yeah, and I don't know about other sports, so I didn't realize like other players can't bet on themselves. And I don't know. I know when I fought Andrea Lee, my coach bet on me. And he didn't tell me. He didn't tell me till after the fight. And so I think that's why he was so relieved.
Right.
We got the decision. He was like, woo. But at the time, I didn't know. I would rather not know, honestly, because it's just more, pressure. But I do think it's a pretty fair thing, you know?
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. Okay, two more fights I just wanted to ask you about. Obviously, on this card as well, we have the flyweight title fight, the fourth fight between Brandon Moreno and Deiveson Figueiredo. Who do you think finally wins this? Hopefully, we can get an end to this whole thing. But who do you think wins?
What is it? Moreno's got 2 and Figgy's won 1, or is it the other way? Figgy's won 2.
I think Figgy's won 2, Moreno's won 1. Yeah, and then they had the draw, right? So.
Oh, and then they had a draw.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, who can even
keep track? I know, even I can't keep track. I think that's right. I'm pretty sure that's the case, but I could be wrong too. It's honestly, this is the fourth fight we're talking about, right? So.
I guess honestly, like I don't care. Like it doesn't matter to me like which one of them wins, but I'll be pulling for Moreno. I just like loved his speech. Didn't he get cut from the UFC and then he came back
to win the title?
Champion? Yeah. Like love that story. I think that's cool. But Figueiredo's a real exciting fighter. I like exciting fighters. Like I love watching them. Obviously, I'm going to enjoy the fight kind of no matter how it turns out. But if you're asking like who I just favor a little bit, I'll say Moreno.
Okay, and then last one, I just have to ask you about, just because it's a huge fight. Islam Makhachev, the new champ, is going to be defending his title against the featherweight champ, Alex Volkanovski. Your thoughts on that fight, how that one might play out?
Ooh, we were just talking about that last night. Alex is going up, which is fucking badass. And I've heard so much about like his takedown defense and his ability to get up. That I've heard that a lot about him, that he has like this crazy ability to get up. So I would love to see it. Like, I can't wait to see it. And I'll be pulling for Volk in that fight. Like I'm a Volk fan, but Makhachev's the real deal. And when you're going up to his weight class, like you better have something special in there, because that dude's a little bit different. I think Makhachev is, who else does that to Charles Oliveira? You know what I mean? Like that's crazy, but we'll see, so I'll be pulling for Volk in that fight. I love a good double champ story. I love that he's going up and taking on the challenge. I love what he's done to the challengers in his own division. People just don't realize like for Makhachev to do what he does at the level that he does it is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's not like he's out there fighting high schoolers or something. He's out there fighting the best in the world, and he's doing his game plan. He's fighting his fight at the highest level, and so is Volk. You know, I just think sometimes it gets lost on people how actually fucking impressive that is.
No, I
you know?
I completely agree. And then there was obviously all the talk in the Holloway fight about, oh, did he beat Holloway, and people calling him Holloway the uncrowned champ and having to deal with all that. And then he goes out there and dominates Holloway in the third fight, right? So it was kind of interesting there. But just quickly, like, would you give the edge to Islam in that fight? If, like, you know, if you were allowed to bet, would you go with Islam, do you think, as far as the winner in that fight?
That's like, I would love to see Volk win, but man, what a tough fight to go up a weight class against somebody that has Makhachev's wrestling credentials. Yeah. You know, that's a tough fight for Volk, but it's like, man, he's shooting for the stars. So how can you not respect that? But yeah, I guess I would say if I had to bet, I'd probably put my money on Makhachev, but
yeah.
But in my heart, I'll be pulling for Volk.
Oh, of course. It's a great story, right? Yeah, it's incredible. We mentioned it there up the top. Andrade, a former champ. You just beat another former champ in Miesha Tate. A win. Where does that put you? Because, I mean, like, again, this would be a huge win for you in the division if you beat Andrade, right?
Oh, of course it would be. And like I said, this is for me to get back to the title with a lot of experience behind me and with a lot of confidence in my heart this time and a different team behind me. And, you know, that's all I'm really thinking about. This fight, it all depends on how it goes. It depends on how I look. What if I go out there and I finish her in the first round? You know, then it's like people are really taking notice. I think when I beat Miesha, people were like, ooh, that's cool. She looked really good. Way to come back strong. But if I do the same thing to Andrade, if I fucking like school her like I did to Miesha Tate, what are people going to say then? They're going to be like, oh, holy shit, she did come back different. Like, she does look different. She looks like a different fighter. I think she could do it this time, you know? So maybe it just depends. If I finish Andrade, I think that puts me in the conversation for another title shot 100%. Like, people have to realize that that's a different fighter in there this time. But if it were like close or like kind of a messy thing, or, you know, I don't know, then maybe one more, maybe I'll go fight whoever the number one contender is at the time and see how that plays out, you know, because like I said, I would not want to fight for the championship again unless I knew in my heart that I had the confidence to do it. And the way that I'm building that confidence is by beating these tough ass people and getting that experience behind me, you know, and the way that I'm doing that, the way I'm beating these tough ass people is by working with this new team. And I just can't say it enough. Those are the three biggest takeaways I took away from that fight with Valentina. And I think I've done a really good job of trying to, you know, humble myself and look at that and have to face it. There's a lot of fighters that would, you know, just blame the gut infection and like go on their merry way and just say like, whatever. And that ain't me. That the gut infection obviously was not okay. That's not okay. And that's a huge failure on a lot of people's parts. But there's other things I could have taken away from that fight that are on me. And that does have to do with like the confidence that I carry. And that does have to do with the amount of experience that I had going into that fight. And that does have to do with the team that I choose to surround myself with, you know? And so when I fix those things, I think the results are going to speak for themselves, and I'm going to beat Andrade. I'm going to make her fight my fight, and people are going to see that I'm a different fighter now than I was in September of 2021, you know?
There's a lot going on in your division right now. I know Valentina was at the, I think it was the World MMA Awards, and they were sort of asking her what's next. And I think some people want to see that rematch with her and Santos because it was so close. But she's saying Manon Fiorot, who just got a really nice win over Caitlin Chukagian. What do you think about the top of your division right now? Because I know, again, focus is on Andrade, but I'm sure you're still paying attention to what's happening at 125.
Oh, yeah, sure. I think Manon's not ready. Manon's not ready to fight Valentina. Honestly, I think the strongest contender in the division right now is Alexa Grasso. Like, I think she has the best chance of beating Valentina right now. I think Manon is just not, like I said, you need to have some high level experience to fight somebody like Valentina. And Manon barely got through Caitlin Chukagian. Like, I know it was a good win and everything, but it's like she basically went out there and Chukagian. It
Right.
was like
Yeah.
just two long girls making a lot of noise, fucking jabbing each other and throwing weird kicks and side kick. Like, who cares? They're not hurting each other. They weren't trying to finish each other. They weren't even really mixing it up. Like, Manon won because she threw in one fucking double leg, like at the end of a round. Like, cool. Valentina's going to eat you alive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
No. I like the honesty there. And then also happening in your division, we just had Erin Blanchfield defeat Molly McCann. Of course, Blanchfield's a big favorite going into the fight. It was sort of I think, a fight for her to kind of showcase things. But what do you make of her? Because she's a young fighter in your division. She's been making some noise.
yeah, she's very good. Very, very good. There's some awesome contenders coming up. Grasso, Blanchfield, Cortez, Rebus. There's just some really, really good contenders coming up, and they're kind of floating around like outside the top 5 right now. And like they're gonna have to fight each other and come up and get through the division and get to the top. But some of those girls are gonna be stars, and I think Blanchfield is one of them. I think Grasso is one of them. Um, Cortez, yeah, like all those.
I'll
girls
throw
are
another
really
name
good.
at you that you haven't mentioned. She's injured right now, but I was just curious your thoughts on her in the division. I always like getting your opinion. What do you think of Casey O'Neill? I know she's on the sidelines right now, but she's been making a lot of noise. She can talk a bit too, which is interesting. Like that adds to her persona and stuff. But what do you think of her run so far in the UFC?
I think her talking ability is much better than her fighting ability.
Okay. I like the honesty here. That's good.
Yeah.
Just one more fight I wanted to ask you about is this, and someone you fought. Andrea Lee is fighting Maycee Barber. What do you think of that fight? That was a fight that could have probably happened in LFA, but now we get it in the UFC.
Yeah, and cool too. I actually really love that fight. I'm a big Andrea Lee fan. And Maycee is tough. I think Maycee is actually a little underrated, to be honest with you. I think people don't give her enough credit for like how hard she hits. Every girl I've talked to that has fought Maycee says she fucking cracks. So, and she'll fight bell to bell. She'll fight you anywhere. She'll fight you in the clinch. She'll fight you at length. She'll fight you on the ground. She fights hard. So if I were Andrea Lee, man, I would make sure my cardio is on point for that. Cause I think when Andrea gets going in the fight, sometimes she gasses. And I don't think it's because she's out of shape. I think it has something to do with something else. But yeah, that's going to be a great fight. Actually, I'm really pumped for that one. And both those girls can scrap. And I'm a big Andrea Lee fan. So I'm anxious to see how she does with somebody like Maycee and see if Maycee can get through Andrea.
Yeah, it's a good test for both. Okay, last question. Everyone's been talking about it. I got to get the Lauren Murphy opinion on this. What did you make of that Paddy Pimblett decision over Jared Gordon? I'm sure you've seen the fight.
Yeah, I thought Gordon won that pretty clearly, And people are like, "Oh, the UFC wanted Paddy to win." It's like, no, the UFC does not control the decisions. Clearly, like there's been a lot of decisions the UFC was not fucking happy with,
Mm-hmm.
But the UFC didn't decide that. So I wish the judges would have to explain why.
Do like a media scrum. I agree. Like, how come? Like, if any of us screw up in our jobs, there's always accountability. You know what I mean? I feel like there isn't any of that with the judges.
Who gave, like, they were talking about it after the Ankalaev Jan Blachowicz fight.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Jan Blachowicz had Ankalaev hopping on one leg in the 3rd round. I thought he was going to finish him. And some fucking judge gave that round to Ankalaev.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what made it a draw. If they had scored it properly for Blachowicz would be the champion right now.
Yeah.
And so I would love to hear that judge explain why he would give the 3rd round to Ankalaev. Like, just tell us, what are you seeing in that round? Anyway, I can't understand.
No, I get it. I understand. And I do feel for your fighters because, again, you do your job and you're like, you could do the best of your job to your ability and it's in someone else's hands, right? Like, it's like, and I know, and then people say, well, you got to finish. Well, it's like, yeah, it's not that easy to do all the time. Like some fighters are really tough to, like you're very tough to finish, right? So it's like, it's tough. But I think the accountability thing would be good because people are like, do open scoring, but that still doesn't get rid of bad judging, right?
Right. And the open scoring thing is, I talked to Manon about this actually, and he kind of had an idea that I really liked. Cause I was like, man, open scoring, it's distracting to the fighters. It's distracting to everybody. Actually, it kind of ruins the moment when you don't know who's won. Like, so what Manon said is like, have open scoring for the first 2 rounds. Mm-hmm. And then the 3rd round, obviously, like, just don't put it up there. And that way it's still a surprise if it's like 1-1, going into the
like
third.
A hybrid system. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. And that way you're not ruining everything. It's not a huge distraction. You still get the big moment of like, the winner is, and the crowd can go nuts. It's not ruined for them before the fighter gets their hand raised. So I liked that idea, and I thought that was a good compromise. That's the only type of open scoring that I'd be okay with. But I think the solution too is the judges need to have some accountability. Like I want to know why Doug Crosby fucking scored that third round for Ankalaev, because I can't, in no world should that have happened. You know, so I would just love to see some accountability from the judges, and I don't think it would be that hard to implement.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you there. Lauren, thanks for doing this. This is an awesome fight. We're all looking forward to it. Next month, UFC 283, January 21st. If there's anyone you'd like to thank before we get out of here, you know the drill here. If you got anything you want to plug or thank or whatever, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I've been using Sunny's CBD cream, and they're badass. I love Sunny's. So Sunny's Wellness, obviously, if you go to my Instagram, you'll find them. They're on Instagram. They're everywhere. Sunny's Wellness. And then honestly, the fucking women's team out here in Denver, if you are a female and you are anywhere close to like 115, 125, 135, we've got a fucking awesome thing going on out here. And so you got to be a good person to join the team, and that's about it. But like, yeah, I can't thank the women enough out here for letting me grow so much with them. I feel like we all bring good stuff to the table, and we can put our egos aside, and just, this is going to be a coming out year for the women's team of Elevation.